morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. It's great to have you back on the channel. And this show is being recorded for Sunday, June 2nd, 2024. Hard to believe it's already June. As always, these shows are recorded for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share with you comes directly real time through my guides, angels, extended spiritual counsel, ETs, famous people from history. So for entertainment purposes only. For those of you to reach me, just go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the book a session tab. I think there's dates available now in November and December of this year, and then also in January of 2025. So it's easy to find. Also, we do have a platinum membership for the channel. You can join on the homepage of our YouTube channel, Sterling Psychic Medium, or on the homepage of our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. We have live member streams every Friday. Had a wonderful stream on Friday with a lot of the members, and where we take care of and address all of your burning questions. So thanks for everybody for joining us today. And just remember to like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell if you get a chance. I think we had something like almost 400 questions again on the community board that are the basis for this show. My wife does go through them. If you watch this channel all the time, you know that. She screens through, and I think we came up like 62 questions for this particular show. So with no further delay, let's jump into today's show. Hi, Sterling and team. Can your guides and you tell us if the Federalist Society will lose power and so much control over the U.S.? There'll always be a significant factor kind of on the right. So they're always going to be around. They've been around for a long time, but won't have as much leverage on government as time goes on. So there'll always be a back end and a kind of a well-funded campaign on that side, but they won't have the same kind of effect across government as we move forward. 61. I must have missed the reply, but I'd like to know if Tim Kaine from Virginia will keep his U.S. Senate seat. Yes, it appears that he will keep his Senate seat. And I think, yeah, no, I think they're just reinforcing the fact that I think this has come up on other shows, and he will keep his Senate seat. 60. Hi, Sterling and team. Did 45 sell classified documents to foreign leaders? If so, will this information negatively affect the U.S.? Simple answers are yes and yes, and it's going to take many years for the U.S. to kind of rebuild confidence among international partners. But yes, I mean, there's been some information that's been compromised, some of which has already come out in the media, related to like nuclear submarines, for example. But yes, it's going to take some years to rebuild the international trust, but the U.S. will get there. 59. I'm in Texas, and I worry about Abbott trying hard to turn our public schools into Christian nationalist training centers. They've been trying to force school vouchers, but keep failing. What do you see happening to our schools? Will anyone stop this? I don't see, I've read on this before, I don't see any major changes happening in terms of what Abbott is trying to do with the schools until we get out like past 2026, which I think is the next election cycle for Abbott. So it looks like there'll be a lot of chaos in that area, but then it'll start to get restored after 2026 or after that next governor election cycle. By the way, he has a number of people working with him. Abbott had a number of people. Those people will also be displaced kind of after that 2026 election cycle. Okay, 58 in the countdown. Hi, Sterling and team. Representative Rashida Tlaib, Democrat, frequently makes searing comments at rallies about President Biden in relation to the Israeli-Gaza conflict. Does this hurt Biden and help 45? Will Representative Tlaib lose her seat in the August 6th primary? She has two Democratic challengers. Yeah, it does look like she's going to lose her seat, and it looks like in the short term, it does have a negative effect on Biden, but in the long term, it doesn't. And I don't see, yeah, I don't see her being reelected in November, if that's when also the next election cycle comes up. But looks like she will not be reelected to her current seat. So I think that answers the question. 57, Sterling and Linda. Well, all of the new CRISPR technology coming in the next decade, with all of it, will there still be a need for us to take prescription medications and vaccinations? If not, what will happen to the pharmaceutical companies? Well, this will be a gradual change over many decades. CRISPR technology comes into effect. A lot of CRISPR technology will be delivered by vaccines, by pills, other ways, transfusions. So there'll always be a need for the pharmaceutical industry. It's just going to kind of change the landscape a little bit at the type of medications that are offered. And so you're going to see, many of the medications are released over the next 5 to 10 years, and then it's a big 30-year cycle here, where we'll be able to greatly reduce the types and the number of medications people are taking. 56. Hello, Sterling. I've been living in the U.S. since I was 3. I am an immigrant. I proudly became an American citizen. I'm now almost 65 years old. I am a product of ancestral immigrants fleeing their countries. Will I have to once again leave a beloved land because of dictatorship and or authoritarianism? No, and I don't really see a major conflict. I mean, obviously, democracy is under threat right now in the U.S. and actually many areas around the world. But as we get past the 2024 election, you're going to see a lot of sanity start to get restored. So I don't see my team doesn't see a dictatorship coming, and that it would be some reason for you have to flee the U.S. necessarily. 55. Hello, Sterling and team. Your guides have predicted a win for Pierre Poilievre, sorry if I mispronounce his name, as Prime Minister of Canada in the next election. He is said to have support by the Heritage Foundation. Will this force a right-wing swing in Canadian politics? Yeah, I do see that. I've read on this before, but I do see kind of Canada kind of lagging behind the effect that things are going on in the US. So kind of more of a far right radical sort of for the next 4 or 5 years around Canada. And then I'll start to come back to more normalcy. So it's going to be a swing, just kind of the way the US has been going through it. And then so you got about a 4 or 5 year run up in Canada. 54. Hi, Sterling and team. Are time machines possible? And if so, will humans someday be able to use them to travel back in time like Marty McFly and Back to the Future movies? Well, time machines, time travel is possible, and it's all based on, it'll stem from Einstein's theory of relativity, that when mass moves faster than the speed of light, you actually become energy, but you incur what's called time slippage. Time becomes nonlinear when you move faster than the speed of light. It's going to be hundreds of years before Homo sapiens sapiens can master kind of moving faster than the speed of light. ETs do it all the time. But when we get to a place where humanity can move faster than the speed of light by ships or whatnot, you can actually enter what's called a nonlinear time frame, nonlinear dimension, and effectively you will be able to go backwards and forwards in time, not physically move into that time, but you'll be able to view it. 53. Hi, Sterling and team. Is telekinesis real? Has anyone on Earth ever actually had the power to make objects move with their minds? Yes, it is possible working with guides and angels. So it's not just your mind, it's actually the intention and the mind and the connection an individual has with their angels and guides that can help move physical objects. You can see this in an alternate sense if you look at the way trickster spirits can like throw bricks across a room or whatnot. So there is a connection with the physical nature of our reality and the spiritual entity side, and that connection. Part of that is how telekinesis works. 52, Sterling and team. My question is, how are we entangled with our children? Do we both make agreements before coming to Earth? I feel overwhelmed with my oldest son at times and wonder if we have some sort of lesson we are both on. Well, all family members, when you come down, you're part of the same extended spiritual family of thousands of members. You've probably heard me talk about that before. And yes, we all come down. We choose our children. We choose our parents. It's all part of a master plan that we come down to, lessons we intend to learn. No accents, but we always come down to learn very specific lessons with the family members around us. And all of our life paths are interconnected. They're interconnected with your best friends, step families, boyfriends, girlfriends, bosses. All of our life paths are interconnected, but certainly among parents and children, absolutely connected for a life path lesson. 51. Hello, Sterling and team. Is it acceptable to occasionally call on a psychic if that person cannot see their own spirits or help themselves, but he or she can still receive a message using tools like tarot cards, crystals, other things? I'm going to separate this answer just a little bit here. It's always fine to go to any kind of a specialist if you think you need some help, a little guidance. So psychic mediums, whoever it is. I always tell people that when you look at crystals and tarot cards, these are tools, and you're really working through your unique guides and angels. So it's always best to learn how to develop the skill to communicate with your angelic team before you start to integrate tools, because what will happen is you'll get sporadic answers. You might get three yeses and a no. So you're not getting clear connection with your team. So yes, fine to go to other outside people. I also tell everyone, please make sure that any information you receive resonates with you in truth. Okay. Many times I talk to people in sessions and they say, look, somebody else told me XYZ. And it's a really, fantastic story. It really doesn't make any sense. And they kind of knew it didn't make any sense. And they're asking whether it's true. You know it's true, right? So make sure, please, check with your own guides and angels, your own internal voice. Make sure whatever information you receive resonates. But please, learn how to communicate with your angelic team before you really start seriously integrating tools. 50. Hello, Sterling and team. Can your guides tell us if stem cells will help with mental retardation in the future? Not a doctor, but what my team always tells me is that stem cells can be helpful in the short term with like growing necessary cells in the body. So if we're talking about mental retardation here, certain types of brain cells, neurological connections, but long term, it's going to be CRISPR technology as we get out past another decade that'll start to have the most hope and actually the most cures in this area. So there'll be gene editing technology that'll help. 49. Hi, Sterling and team. It has been 5 months since anyone has seen Princess Catherine in public. Many people have said that the cancer video was fake. Will we ever find out the truth about what happened to Kate? Yes, I've read on this before. You're gonna find out the depth and the breadth of the medical condition that's going on around Kate. Won't be that much longer. I'm saying months, but the public's going to find out, and these are very trying times for her. So I'm gonna leave it there, but I'm gonna send her a lot of love and light from my team to her team, and really wish that the whole family is surrounded in love. 48. Is there any truth to the theory that some UFOs may be our future selves conducting time travel tourism? No, not at all. Extraterrestrials don't have direct connection to Homo sapiens sapiens right now. Millions of years ago, we all start as star seeds. Right now, in the Earth's history, no, these are not future selves coming back. No, not at all. 48. I'm sorry, 47. Sterling and team. Recently, Reuters reported that Putin is ready to negotiate and wants a ceasefire based on current border positions. Is Putin serious about negotiations? Will a ceasefire be implemented soon in Ukraine? Yes, he is serious about finding an exit off ramp to the war because he realizes it's not going to, can't go on forever. He's not making the kind of progress. He's losing a lot of public support in Russia. It's going to take the world to come together here, and they will, to help Putin generate an exit off ramp for this war, and then we'll get back to negotiation of what domains, what areas in the Ukraine will go back to Ukraine. I've always said that there's a certain portion, could be 20%, 25% of Ukraine that was kind of overtaken by Russia will still maintain under Russian control, but a lot of the majority of all the terrain that was taken over by Russia will come back. So yes, he's serious about trying to find an off ramp, and unfortunately, save face. Right, that's what a lot of dictators try to do. 46. As a young college graduate nearly 50 years ago, I traveled through Europe with my friends. We visited the remnants of a World War II concentration camp. When we accessed a crematorium, I was overwhelmed by the presence of suffering to the point that I had to immediately leave. What did I experience? The feelings have never left my consciousness all these years. This is residual energy left behind by the souls that were there. Some of the souls still come around to visit, but when you're an empath, certainly you feel that energy much more strongly. And in an area like that was involved in the Holocaust, there's a lot of residual energy, a lot of souls that still keep coming around to visit, to try to embrace humanity, try to lift humanity, try to help humanity move forward, believe it or not. So yeah, you're feeling a lot of the residual energy and the souls that still come around. Very common. 45. Hi, Sterling. I work and play with many psychically gifted people, looks like, okay? Some of them enjoy tapping into other people like ex-husbands, children, colleagues, etc., without their knowledge or consent to gain information around various questions as a form of group entertainment and gossip. I don't consider this ethical, but they don't seem to mind. Where is the ethical boundary in reading others and sharing information? How can I deny access to being read by people I am unaware may be reading me? Well, you can never really stop this from the spiritual realm, but the spiritual realm is pretty good at, I'm going to call it gating the information. So the information that comes through to you or anybody else is only meant for the highest good. So it's either a lesson for you, it's a lesson for the other people. Even though people appear to be doing it from a gossip standpoint, remember there's life lessons in everything. So you can't really stop anybody, let's say, from reading you. That was another part of the question here. But the information that comes through is always meant for the higher good. So keep that in mind, okay? 44. Will Mike Johnson be 45's VP pick? No, I don't see this taking place. And I actually don't even see a VP being selected until maybe the very bitter end for 45. Still a lot of chaos around all this. Yeah, it's every time I've looked at the a VP pick for 45, just there's a lot of chaos around it, and it doesn't come through with any kind of clarity. So it looks to me like he kind of waits till the very end, or maybe it's a non, it doesn't even matter at that point. 43. Hello, Sterling and team. Is there any truth to the rumor about Illuminati or ritualistic things that go on in Hollywood to ensure fame and success? Is there really such a thing as selling your soul to the devil? I know you have said many times that there really no devil, but what are these people partaking in? Is there any truth to this thing called blood sacrifice? Well, no devil, no hell, no sacrifices. Look, there are many individuals in all industries that have ill intent. Now you can see this what's happening in politics right now, but I don't see like in the entertainment industry any more, any less kind of that bad element, if you will, in the industry that I see in all kinds of other industries, whether it's aviation or automotive or the medical industry. It's interesting. Um, yeah, so there are organizations that don't have good intent, but no devil, no hell, no significant sacrifices. But there are a lot of unscrupulous people in every industry, including the entertainment industry. There's no selling your soul to the devil, but there are people that make some very poor decisions. So I guess don't let the imagination run wild there. 42. Hello, Sterling. Will the USA and Venezuela come to terms and reopen a Venezuelan embassy back in the US? Will Venezuela become democratic again in the near future? What's the political economic outlook for this country? I don't see any embassy coming about again for at least another 5 years, and a hard time going on in Venezuela for another 5 years. So a little bit of a hard road here. I don't know what this is all about, but my team is saying a little bit of a hard road here for at least another half decade, another 5 years. And for some reason, no embassy. They may try, but because we're asking about embassy back in the U.S. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but there's some sort of there's a friction element here where they don't put the embassy back. 41. Sterling and team sitting around the campfire at the Grampians, looks like Garwood, a mountain range in Victoria. Sorry if I mispronounced all that. Range in Victoria. A few years ago, my wife and I were discussing UFOs when we suddenly saw one, a light moving in the sky and heading towards us. It was not a plane, as we could see one of those in the distance. This object flew over 6 times, and although it was dark and we couldn't make it out, what it was seemed to be responding to things we said. Who or what was the object, and why was it interested in us? I get in this particular instance, this is what they call a UAP drone in the local area, had no interest in you. It may look like it was responding to you, but moving towards a local military base. So this is a smaller ship, what they call a UAP drone. Some of the drones are small shuttle ships, actually, that move people back and forth between Earth and other motherships. But looks like this is a smaller UAP drone for you. 40, hi Sterling. I see quite a few Reiki healers on YouTube. Is Reiki effective through a TV screen? It's not dependent on the TV screen. It's dependent on the connection of your guides and angels, your team with the Reiki healer and the Reiki healer skill. So TV is not even a component. It's just that it can happen or not happen. TV is not really the important part. It's the connection you make with your angelic team and the Reiki healer, their experience, and they're working with their team to transmit energy. Remember, this kind of energy goes through the spiritual realm. So it's not really more of an alignment with your angels and guides, not the TV. 39, I'm wondering if souls who have passed on know if and when their remains have been found and are being examined, how do they react to this? Uh, they really have no connection with us whatsoever. Once you transition to the heaven dimension, you really have no connection with the human body. That's like the car you drove around in when you were down here, and now you're left the car. So humans down here, Homo sapiens sapiens, have a great, fascination with the human body and remains, and will they be found? On the other side, really no direct connection whatsoever. They do want the highest and best good and outcome for everything down here. So, for example, if someone remains were found, but then it leads to, let's say, justice for somebody that may have caused them harm, that's living in the love dimension. They want justice to be had. So, but no real connection to the remains whatsoever. No. Okay, 38 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling. What do your guides say about therapies that involve taking MDMA or other medications to create an openness to the process? Reportedly, there's very good success with trauma, depression, anxiety, and couple issues, even a single session. So my team always says that this is kind of a very dangerous practice, and you really have to work with medical professionals if you're doing any of this kind of thing, and it's with microdosing, not a doctor. Uh, I know there have been successes with some individuals with PTSD, for example. But I'm going to tell you that this is something that you have to be very careful of. And my team never really endorses this particular medical practice, but I want to leave it with everybody individually because it's kind of a risky, dangerous process. You make sure you have to work with a very qualified doctor, and I'm certainly not a doctor. 37, Sterling and team. Since ETs are significantly advanced to Homo sapiens sapiens, do they share the same life lessons as humans, but just at a deeper, more profound level? Do ETs have any life lessons that humans would not have, and vice versa? Well, very different life lessons for Homo sapiens sapien compared to ETs. It's very different. A lot of extraterrestrials that I deal with and work with are far advanced. They're not dealing with all the human-based problems that we have down here around race and understanding kind of places in society and love. They don't have the same kind of fear component. So a lot of humanity is working through fear elements, jealousy, hatred, competitiveness, control. No, the extraterrestrials don't deal with that level of lesson learning. They're actually dealing more with how to expand the universe, how to create a greater society. So, it's unfortunate kind of where humanity is at right now, Homo sapiens sapiens. But no, ETs are more concerned with how to expand the universe, how to protect the universe, how to keep it safe on a very large scale, not on a micro scale, kind of like humans are. 36. Hello, Sterling. You predicted 2 years ago that Scott Perry, Congressional District 10 in Pennsylvania, will be removed from his seat due to his prominent role in helping to promote Stop the Steal. Will Janelle Stelson, a former local news anchor, defeat him this year, or will he be removed on their way? Yes, it appears Janelle Stelson will be elected into that position. In fact, with a lot of national Democratic support, it looks like she'll win. 35. Hello, Sterling. You were correct that Democrat Angela Alsobrooks and former Governor Republican Larry Hogan would win their respective primaries in Maryland. Now the big question is which one will win the race for senator in November? I'm being told Angela Alsobrooks looks like she will win that election. 34. Hi, Sterling, Linda, and team. Russian psychic Grigory Grabovoy, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, Grabovoy, invented the number sequence codes, which are called Grabovoy codes. And he claims that they can alter a person's electromagnetic field to manifest their desires by saying the codes out loud or writing them down while concentrating on what you want. Do these codes work? No, not at all. So, it's actually based on your intention and you working with your angels and guides to create the outcome. In fact, what I'm getting is, I don't know anything about these, but some of these codes are dark. I don't know what this is all about, but maybe had like ill intent in some areas. So, no, I'd be careful. My team's saying that they don't work the way they're being purported to work. But your intention and working with angels and guides to manifest is where all the magic happens. 33, Sterling and team. How do loved ones see us? Are they in heaven and come here when we call them? If they are much higher dimensions, can they still hear us? They can see everything going on the earth plane. So when you're on the other side in that dimension is moving faster than the speed of light. So yes, when they call us, they come around. It's very easy for them to come around. They see what's happening. They don't have the same connection with us when they're on the other side, meaning they're not concerned when we're taking a shower, when we're driving to work. They do want the best for us, and they certainly try to transmit loving energy and supportive energy and healing energy to us. They always want the best for us, but everybody started brand new lives on the other side. So there's a lot to do there. They start brand new lives. But yes, they can see this dimension, but don't have the same fascination you would think that we do kind of as we're here on Earth. 32, hi Sterling, will we ever have hover vehicles like in Star Wars? Yes, this is all part of anti-gravity propulsion systems that in many, many decades they will be they'll be commercialized, right? So there'll be a lot of military aircraft that are using them right now. Anti-gravity propulsion systems will take a while to propagate out to lots of private vehicles, but many, many decades in the future, many decades, you'll see anti-gravity propulsion systems, and yeah, you'll have some of the things you see like in Star Wars, more privately owned vehicles that can move the way they did in Star Wars. 31, Sterling. Why are we still driving around on tires? Shouldn't we be driving vehicles that navigate on a cushion of air? Or what do we see regarding tires? Such a waste in landfills. So, over the next 20 years, new composite materials will be deployed that will work and support a lot of vehicles. It's going to be quite a while. You'll see a transition to what I call drone technology. That is, air-powered vehicles. There'll be mass transportation drones, flying vehicles. That's before anti-gravity propulsion comes. But yeah, I mean, over the next couple of decades here, 1 to 2, you're going to see a lot of composite materials replacing rubber for tires. So it's an evolution here. It's not going to happen overnight. 30. Hello, Sterling and team. I hope you can help me with this, as it has bothered me for years. In 1981, at the age of 19, at approximately 11 o'clock p.m. in the evening, I took my small dog outside. While waiting on her, I glanced up in the sky to see a flash of light. It was the shape of a pink diamond within a white diamond with jagged edges. It flashed as lightning would, just long enough to see it. It scared me, and I grabbed my dog and ran to the house. Was this a natural phenomenon or something else? This comes across to me as a UAP moving through a portal. So that flash that you saw many times as UAPs, UFOs move through a portal in the sky, you may see a flash of light. So this is coming across to me, and this is the kind of a portal, not the same size, but the kind like existed Skinwalker Ranch in northern Utah. So it looks like it was UAP moving through a portal was that flash you saw. 29. Sterling, will healthcare become more equitable and affordable in the near future? Well, it's a multi-year transition process. As we get out past the next presidential election, 2024 here, you'll start to see healthcare become more affordable. It's going to take a few years, but transition the way minimum taxes are paid by corporations. That I still see, my team always sees that corporate minimum tax of 15%, that mandatory tax, that's 15%, 15%. What's interesting is a lot of people have said, well, that's not enough, 15%. What's important about that is many of the largest corporations don't pay any tax at all. So that minimum tax rate is going to be a tremendous help. That's going to move into all areas of society and actually help with healthcare as well, healthcare costs. 28. Hello, Sterling. You've stated that EVs will be our primary transportation in the future. They don't produce emissions, but the batteries that power them create a negative environmental impact. It seems like we are solving the climate crisis while creating another toxic disaster. Do you see a way out of this? Yeah, well, we talked about this before, but new battery technology using new esoteric materials. It's interesting. There's actually some materials are already here on Earth, but there's new battery technology being developed right now that will be less wasteful, more efficient, higher charge capacity, producing longer range, faster charge times. Yeah, so this is an evolution. You're going to see over the next number of years here, brand new battery technology coming out for EVs. They'll be quite remarkable, and then eventually we'll transition other types of. Now this is going decades and decades out, but there'll be what I call nuclear powered vehicles. I don't want to scare anybody, but the same way that cold fusion way down the road here will be used for energizing cities, powering cities. We'll have micro types of, and remind me, there's postage stamp size energy. Yeah, okay. They're talking about the fact that there's new types of advanced carbon, I forget what they're called now, but they're postage size cells postage stamp size cells that will actually energize vehicles. Okay, I remember talking about this a year or two ago, and they're reminding me again. So all this is an evolution coming. So what you see now will be remarkably different in terms of size, efficiency, and the technology used like for batteries for EVs. 27. Were the Harry Potter books channeled? Yes, like all great creative endeavors, like all types of books, TV, film, music, acting, poetry, on and on. Yes. 26. Sterling, I'm wondering, does the negativity of our planet affect the source, the one force? No. Earth is all a school created to help us. So the negativity, remember, the whole universe runs on love and fear, including what's down here on Earth, but doesn't negatively affect the one source, the one force. They're always trying to push forward. Absolutely. 25 in the countdown. Hello, Sterling and team. Question: are contracts made prior to reincarnation to Earth between souls to learn lessons would still need to be addressed and also from past lives? Well, all life path blueprints are negotiated before coming down to Earth. Karma is really the set of lessons you decide to learn during this incarnation. Yes, many times, if you're coming down and you do come down with parts of your unique soul family, you decide to learn lessons. That's why many times you'll have spouses may have 4 or 5, 10 lifetimes together, where maybe they were even siblings in one lifetime and then spouses. So yeah, there's a combination of lessons that soul groups, soul families decide to come down here and learn, and you do actually set it up before you come down here. 24. Hello, Sterling and team. Many people flee dictatorships and poverty to the majority of Western countries. Several of these countries see immigration as a problem. Will we ever realize the problem lies in what drives these people to leave and find solutions to make them happy in their own countries? If so, when? So this is a very large discussion. This is like decades and decades in the making. But this has to do with more of an equilibrium around the world. Equilibrium, that is, in terms of green technology, economies, moving towards democratic stability. So, this person asked the question, I'm kind of addressing this on a worldwide stance, but we have many, many decades to go here, even past the 3-decade reset that we're in right now. But as you get out past 2050, the year 2050, you start to see a lot more equilibrium in the way societies function around the world. And that'll mean there'll be less drive for individuals to want to flee their country. So this is all part of an important 3-decade reset. As you get out past 2050 is where a lot of people start to feel like things are achieved a greater level of balance. 23, when will Americans have restored faith in the Supreme Court? It's more like towards the end of this decade. So right now we're in 2024. There's going to be some additions made to the Supreme Court as we get out another year here. Whether there are 4 additional members of the Supreme Court being added. And but it's going to take like to the end of the decade, so more like the year 2030, by the time it feels like things are better in balance and a lot of things come back together. I know it seems like a long time, but been a lot of damage done around the Supreme Court in the US. 22. As an 84-year-old waiting to die, how can I stop these overwhelming feelings of guilt and shame as I'm reminded of all my mistakes? I plan on doing better in my next lifetime. Okay, well, here's the thing. Life on earth is a school. Every day you're here, you're in school. And, it may sound like a euphemism, but it's never too late to acknowledge and learn the lesson he came down here to learn. Love and fear drive the entire universe. One of the elements of love is forgiveness, standing in truth. Never too late. So you're still in school. Whoever asked this question at 84 years old, this is time now to make this point in your life a tipping point, getting to self-love, forgiveness for yourself. You're in school, but you're actually going to learn that lesson very soon here. I see it. 21. Hello, Sterling. Thank you and your team for answering varied questions on our human condition. I am curious whether the age of CRISPR technology will also open up our human brains to operate at a higher level. No direct relationship per se between CRISPR gene editing and our brain capacity, although people will learn how to utilize brain capacity better through training and actually leveraging things like artificial intelligence to increase the types of things that Homo sapiens sapiens learn. So gene editing per se is not going to open up more mind or the ability, the functioning, the capacity of the brain, but the way we leverage other tools will. 20. Hi, Sterling. I know you said everyone crosses over, so I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on this and why any soul would choose the life of a truly evil person. So, I mean, this really has to do with the yin and yang effect here on Earth and actually in the universe. So, good, evil, there's no devil, don't get me wrong, but we always have counterbalancing forces in everything that we experience. So much the way an athlete trains, you have resistance training, you lift weights to gain strength. Everybody's life paths interconnected, even those that are causing, have malintent for humanity. So this is all part of the yin and yang effect in the universe. But a lot of time, people that have malintent, they point out where more support, more help is required. So remember, everybody has a purpose, and you have to look at it kind of unfortunately sometimes from a much broader, higher level perspective as to how change occurs, how we move towards kind of a better world, a better ecosystem, a better universe for everybody. 19, I'm curious about the small gray ETs that so many people see and have much encounters with. Are they hybrid AI or biological? Many types of small gray ETs. Some are absolutely part AI, part biological ET. Many of the smaller grays pilot ships. They can undergo tremendous forces. When you're moving through the universe, moving faster than the speed of light. There are some grays that are purely extraterrestrial, and they have very specific functions down here on Earth. So different types, several different types of small gray ETs. They're not all the same. 18. Hi, Sterling and team. My question is Gaia or Mother Earth or Mother Earth a consciousness like we are, or is she at a higher level? I ask because I have heard some psychics say that the reason for these natural disasters recently is because Mother Earth is angry. It doesn't really resonate with me because if Gaia or Mother Earth is an evolved consciousness, then it wouldn't act an angry manner. Would love to know your guides have to say about this. Thank you. So Gaia is never vengeful or hateful. It's always based in love. But there is a yin and yang effect to everything in the universe. So again, this is all like lesson based. It's not fear based, not anger based. But just like many of the lessons that extraterrestrials have already learned, humans are learning. Gaia is not evil, angry. But there's a yin and yang effect to the entire universe. So push pull. And so as you move energy around, for example, what's going on with climate change, as you move energy around, it creates other effects. I think that's the best way to address that right now with this question. But no, Gaia is not vengeful or angry, but sometimes these things are a little bit lesson based in order to get humanity kind of get back on track. 17. What are you and your team's thoughts on energy medicine? Is it all about intention, and or if you believe it that they work? Well, your intention plays a very important role in it, and actually the energy that's put into what they call energy medicine. It's really your team of angels and guides that are making that medicine work, if you will. I always have to emphasize this, that a lot of people kind of look outside for other types of ways that things can happen or get better in their life, or medical treatments. And boy, a very a strong component, an important component is your angels and guides. So with energy medicine, it's really your angels and guides working along with the one source, the one force that are making it happen, not necessarily any particular component of that. Hope that makes sense. 16. Hi, Sterling. Will Montana's Senator John Tester win re-election? Yes, it appears he'll win re-election, and I think he's been in that seat for a long time. But looks like he'll win re-election. 15. Hi, Sterling. What do your guides say about planned assisted dying? Would that be part of a person's blueprint? Yes, you never get off the earth if it's not your time. So it's interesting. If you get off the planet with assisted dying, it is part of your blueprint. No accidents. Um, yeah, I know this is all part of a larger discussion about the way our life paths are interconnected, because anything that you choose to do in your life path affects many other life paths. Okay, so that has to do with people around you, family members, friends, doctors, things that they learn, you learn. But yeah, assisted dying is part of a life path blueprint. It is. 14. Hi, Sterling and team. I just learned something new that blew my mind. Every human does not possess or know how to access their still small inner voice or personal dialogue. The scientists have named this condition anadophagia. Anandophagia looks like. The stats said that as many as 50% of humans may have this condition, which is on a spectrum. My question to you is, does this lack of inner voice correlate at all with the spiritual evolution of the individual, current or future? No correlation at all. Everybody actually has the gift to be able to communicate with their angelic team, even though they may not have the functional awareness of, say, of an inner voice. It may take longer for individuals to achieve like a satisfactory result for them, but that spiritual connection of, let's say, the inner voice, not directly related to the inner voice the individual has. It's interesting. It has a lot to do with when your logical mind is connected to you or disconnected. So a lot of times when people do spiritual work or astral travel, you're disconnecting your logical mind kind of from your soul, so to speak. And then it's your soul that travels, and that's where the connection happens. But my team's saying, it's no direct correlation here with what the person's asking. The ability of everybody to connect with their spiritual, their soul, their guides and angels is true for everybody. For some, may take longer to achieve satisfactory results. 13. Hello, Sterling and team. Can you please read on whether you foresee another attempted coup this election cycle, Most offenders from January 6 are in prison, which has cut down the extremist operation at the knees. However, there are still a number of extremists who may not feel deterred to try the same thing again, especially at the aggressive urging of 45 in the cases he loses. So I don't see any major coup happening again like the one that happened in Washington. There's going to be a lot of isolated violence, chaos in certain cities. I do see that, but it can be markedly reduced. But so no major coup attempt like on the U.S. Capitol again. I do see that a lot of the military and police are aware, ready, prepared. Not going to be a repeat of what we saw January 6th. 12. Hello, Sterling and team. There are many people channeling messages regarding ascension into the fifth dimension and events that will occur on Earth in the next year. What do your guides, especially your galactic guides, see about that? No such event. So we're all in a progression here, right? So we're all elevating ourselves. The veil's getting thinner to the other side. We're all becoming more spiritual, more loving. Believe it or not, may sound hard to believe. Um, you know, it's really good to reference this in terms of what I call density, not dimension. We're living right now on Earth in the three-dimensional or 3D region. Time is the fourth dimension. When you get out to a fifth dimension, that's where time goes nonlinear. Those dimensions move faster than the speed of light. There's no fifth dimension ascension happening here on Earth. I know a lot of people talk about that. It's better to talk about in terms of, say, a fifth density, but it's a progression. So I know people sometimes talk about a flash of light occurring and everything changing on Earth, and certain people will be left behind. No such event. We're entirely in a gradual progression here going forward, and that's this 3-decade reset we're in. The year 2020 to 2050 is a very important part of that. 11. Hello, Sterling and team. Will Taylor Swift openly endorse Joe Biden? If so, when? Does Biden need her endorsement to win? Yes and yes. As predicted on many, many shows ago, I did see Taylor Swift endorsing the Biden ticket. Yeah, so it's all going to happen. And it looks like within a couple of months here, you're going to start to see that happening. Looks like by August, my team just said. 10. Stephen A. Schwartz has interviewed over 1,000 people to remote view the years 2050 and 2060. There is a consensus that people will depend more on rail transportation and live in smaller communities. Will there be more equality in earnings? He sees smaller homes, less consumerism. What will take place of large scale mega churches? Will people stay connected spiritually? If so, what would that look like? So this parlays again into what keeps coming up from my team, this whole 2020 to 2050 bit of a reset, more of an equality, people be more elevated in their understanding. In terms of like living in small cities, my team has always seen many more communities developing underground, underwater, because of environmental conditions, energy efficiency. That's all going to happen. People will be much more spiritually connected. You're not going to be walking on air, so to speak, or elevating, but people are going to understand, many more people on the planet by the year 2050 will understand how to communicate with other dimensions, people that passed over, angels and guides will understand what role extraterrestrials have played over millions of years in the universe. So, that understanding will create great insight and actually move a lot more quality in everything across society. So it's that 2020 to 2050. By 2060, it'll be that much better. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, 9 the countdown. Hi, Sterling and team. Do we ever have the same birth angels assigned to us in more than one incarnation? Could we have the same birth angels in multiple lives? So, yes and yes. You're not always assigned the same birth angel as part of a negotiation before you come down here. Some people have one birth angel, some people have many. Birth angels, their job is to keep you on the planet so you don't pass away or cross over if it's not your time. Guides do shift out. You actually negotiate a set of guides when you come down here, and they have different functions. And as you go through life cycle to life cycle, right? Some people are on 10-year life cycles, some people are on 7-year life cycles. But many times as you go through each life cycle, you can have different guides that will trade out. So a good example is what a lot of people have what I call a business finance guide. They're the practical guides that help you pay your rent on time, don't sign bad contracts, that kind of thing. If you're running, a McDonald's when you're younger, you'll have one type, let's say, a business finance guide that will help you. If you're running General Motors decades later, you have a different type of business finance guide. So they can trade out depending on what your needs are. Birth angels, not always the same, but it's part of a negotiation. They can certainly be the same, but that's all based on free will and how you negotiate the contract before you come down. 8. I'm curious about Mel's hole in eastern Washington state. Mel found a big hole on his land and talked about it with Art Bell on the radio show Coast to Coast, and the government intervened. The hole is seemingly bottomless, and strange occurrences happen near the hole involving animals, radios, plant growth, etc. There's apparently another one in Nevada with strange things happening. What can you tell us about Mel's hole? My team said this is all part of folklore, so it's not really true. It's not bottomless. In fact, my team was saying if it was bottomless, it would have collapsed on itself by now. Looks like folklore here in order to kind of gain some kind of prominence. I do think that there's a hole there, but it's not bottomless, and it looks like a lot of folklore. So people exaggerated what was going on there. So not a real physical artifact, if you will. 7, dear Sterling and team, for the past couple of decades, I would wake up from a deep sleep to find a black netting object in front of my face with some type of squares and other shapes, like a fish netting, then it quickly dissipates. This has happened many times. Recently, one time it has turned from black to white, then again dissipates. What am I seeing? Is ET object or something else? No, I'm not a doctor, but what my team's saying is that this is like a physical artifact or an optical artifact. So I would definitely, talk with a doctor. There's something that's an optical artifact, like with the eyes. This is not a spiritual or an extraterrestrial. And sometimes when people see these types of structured images, or numbers or symbols, that can be looking at an entrance to the Akashic records. Not in this case, though. My team's telling me you might want it. This is an optical artifact, and may want to consult the doctor on that. 6, Sterling and team, will North Carolina be successful in passing a ban for wearing masks in public? This would endanger immune compromised people. It looks like they're going to pass the bill, but it doesn't look like it's going to stick. So it looks like maybe they'll pass the bill. It'll be short term, but there'll be other workarounds, like if you're immune compromised due to cancer treatment or something. So a lot of chaos being created around this. So the bill may pass, but then not be enforced. So I wouldn't worry a lot about this. Looks like when it does get passed, it will then get overturned within a short time period, which means within like months or a year. So a lot of chaos around this. 5, will the legislation called the EATS or EATS Act be passed and made law? If so, it will cancel states' autonomy to regulate the humane treatment of farm animals. I don't see this being placed into law. Looks like this law would really create a benefit to large agriculture, and be a detriment to small farms. It doesn't look like this is going to get passed. Looks like whatever's going on, it gets retracted. So I don't know if this is like big agriculture, big ag pushing this bill, but it did not look like it goes through successfully. 4, there are recent reports of the Thwaites, I think it's pronounced Thwaites, 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 or Doomsday Glacier, increasing melting due to sea temperature rises. Will this melting result in major sea level rising, as some scientists now predict? If so, will the seas inundate most of South Florida and make it uninhabitable? You know, I've read on this before. This Doomsday Glacier is definitely going to be melting. The water levels, the sea levels will rise 1 to 2 feet within about 2 to 3 decades. So many coastal communities, not just around Florida, say the East Coast, but even around the West Coast, kind of even affecting like Vancouver. But sea levels will rise 1 to 2 feet. And this is going to be, this is going to be a change in the way people build and have to adapt and change a lot of the things around coastal communities. So yeah, Florida will not be the only one affected, one of many, many areas around the world. Three, hi Sterling. Back in 1974, after I graduated from high school, our friend and I were driving the strip in front of the University of Maryland. All of a sudden, this huge craft came over us so low you could see the markings underneath it. We were stunned, and I'm sure many others saw it. It also had this strange floating thing emanating from it like a cloaking device. I'll never forget this. My question is, since so many people I'm sure saw this, why we never heard any reports on the news or anyone talking about it? I know we weren't the only ones seeing this. What was this and why the cover up? This comes across to me as a Palladian mothership moving through the area towards a military base. So this is a good example of how information shut down and the media is told not to talk about it. All this will be, very obvious, very out in the open. We're just within a few short years here. But it looks like that was a Palladian mothership. And, they all move using anti-gravity propulsion technology, using very rare exotic materials that are combined together to create that anti-gravity propulsion system, but that's why they're silent and they can appear to have cloaking effects. It's that field that's created around the ship. And number two and number one in the countdown, I always take notes before I start the show. So here we go. Number two, do you see anything coming up this week? New significant progress towards a ceasefire in the Middle East and the start of a two-state solution discussions managed by Qatar, the US, and several European countries. Uh, yeah, start of appeals discussions in the media for 45. So we already know I've said many times that once the guilty verdict came down for 45, we'd see the start of appeals discussions. So it'd be a whole long, drawn out appeals process. It's going to take a long time, many months. The appeals process will go past the election cycle, but it's all coming up. You see a lot more talk about it in the media here. Threats by the Supreme Court to overturn the 45 New York felony convictions, but this will have no effect now or in the long term. So I don't see that the Supreme Court, even when that would even come before the Supreme Court, could be a year or two out, believe it or not, that it could have any kind of an effect. So the Supreme Court won't be overturning the guilty, the 34 felony accounts that came up in New York. New leadership changes, senior leadership changes, and whistleblowers coming forward about Boeing amid new problems surrounding quality control. So, some sort of talk about a new senior leadership change at Boeing and more whistleblowers. So, ongoing things here with Boeing in the news. So, that's coming up. And number one in the countdown, do you have anything your guides want to share? Start off each day with simple gratitude for the things you are grateful for, and this will gradually start to change your reality faster than you know. And on that note, that concludes the show being recorded today for Sunday, June 2nd, 2024. As always, if you'd like to join our Platinum membership, just go to the homepage on the YouTube channel or homepage on our website. If you'd like to book a session, just go to sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Again, look for the book a session tab. Dates available November, December of this year and January of 2025. And on that note, we're going to conclude the show here. I want to wish a lot of goodwill and again, tremendous love to you and your families. And I will talk to you again very soon. Take care.